Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Carlo at 4GQ TV. I have my co-host Paul here with me on the show, but we have a very special guest, Deepak, who is a musician, and I'm sure he has some interesting stories to tell us. Welcome to the show, Deepak.
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, can you tell us how you got started into music and your career?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I grew up around music. I was blessed to have parents that were pretty musical, and they were always playing music. My mom was always singing and all that. That's not what they did professionally, but I was just always surrounded by it. And they're from India. I'm East Indian, and so they were playing like and singing classical Indian music, and it's so rich with the way the scales are. It's like really complex stuff. So I think my brain really got pretty, well trained at a young age with like complicated scales and polyrhythms before I could realize it. But then, I got really obsessed. I grew up in the US. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, like Columbia, Maryland, DC area. So I was really more into like Western, like pop music, Michael Jackson, stuff like that. So a lot of my music growing up, honestly, was just like listening to stuff I liked and then singing it. Like I would hear Michael Jackson and start singing along and like and then what happens, like I think people start listening, going, oh, he kind of sounds a little bit like him, or like it's in tune. I figured maybe it's worth pursuing it. And kind of like hear that I was musical. And I like again, I think I just got that from my parents. So, just from there, I just like had favorite bands like Radiohead and like Imagine Dragons, and started trying to like play those songs on the piano and guitar. I kind of ended up teaching myself a lot of that stuff. I did have violin lessons when I was super young though, which is cool. And so now I'm like I do a lot of electric violin now, and play with I play with other people and my stuff. But yeah, a lot of my music just started out like with my parents, and then listening to stuff I liked, and then just trying to see if I could play it. And then then I became like a writer later. Got really creative, and I was kicked out of orchestra a lot actually. I was just remembering that I was playing violin, and I would always like make up my own part and stuff. And I think you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to just play what's on the paper. And I was always a little more ADD, rebellious in general. Even in school, I was always kind of more rebellious. And so, they were like, "You're really good, but you have to play the part." And I was get bored. I was like, "We already played it once. Like, I want to play it like a variation this time."
Wait,
So anyway, that
so real quick, so you're a real life Lisa Simpson at the beginning where where she gets kicked out of music class because she's doing her
you
own
know
thing
what?
over there. Yeah.
You know what? That's a pretty good analogy. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, she was just jamming, doing the jazz thing. I was jamming, doing like more like the freestyle, violin improv thing. But it ended up working out because then I became more of a writer, and like
Yeah,
I like to make up my own songs versus play, what's on the paper. I don't really
right.
read music. I just kind of play by feel.
That's awesome. So you have a rich history in I want to say culture because you were introduced to different kinds of music, and it kind of gives you like insight as an artist to kind of create more and have more on the palette to create with, I should say. Have you ever taken inspiration from, the music that you listened to growing up and putting into your stuff?
Absolutely. I think, just as humans, we're sponges of life. And, as a musician, I'd say I am the same. I've loved so many different eclectic types of music, growing up with classical music, Indian music, modern pop music, Radiohead, even like a cappella music. So, a lot of my music that I make now has a lot of those influences. It has that pop rock, electronic feel. I really got into Depeche Mode a little bit at some point, Pink Floyd, so I really like the idea of making eclectic music that has an arc to it, like a story, like The Wall, like the album, like Pink Floyd, The Wall, like things like that aren't just like a single song. Like a lot of people are putting out singles these days. Like I'm thinking about making a story, like almost like it's a movie, but made with music and having the influences of again all my favorite bands, Coldplay, Radiohead, Imagine Dragons, mixed with some of that pop disco stuff like Michael Jackson, even the Bee Gees. So it's like danceable and fun and uplifting while still being like deep and like I like the depth of Radiohead. I keep mentioning Radiohead so much because I just really like how deep they get, and it's not just basic stuff. They're having crazy messages, crazy lyrics. The music's complex, but it still takes you to a place. But I still like that accessible pop feel that, Michael, even the modern music with The Weeknd, Dua Lipa, some of that stuff too. I like kind of like feeling all those and creating stuff that's unique, that's my own, but it still is, of course, a product of everything I've ever listened to because we are that's how we're just as humans,
Yeah.
we soak up everything around us.
What has been, would you say, what besides getting kicked out of orchestra, which I'm sure was a fun time to maybe challenging but fun, what are some of the challenges that you faced as a musician?
The biggest challenge for me is the paradox of choice. because I love so much music. And so part of my journey in music and being, I was from Maryland, like I said, but I moved up to Los Angeles like more than 10 years ago, and have had different types of projects. I have like a funk project, and then like more electronic music, and then I got like a rock band, and then I'm doing Disney. I did a whole project with Disney where I did 45 songs, and that's more theatrical orchestration, all the singing and the vocals, that that fun, uplifting Disney music. And I just love all of it so much that I'm like, well, what is me? Who am I? That's my biggest challenge, is identity. Who am I? Like, who's Dpak in all this? And letting go of almost all the stuff that I grew up with in order to like be quiet and almost meditate, to go, what's my message? What's my mission? What's my sound, has been the challenge. But in the last 2 years, I really feel like I've had some breakthroughs discovering and making my own unique and carving out my own space in my music. And I'm really excited to start putting some of that new stuff out there.
Very nice. So, you mentioned you did Disney. Is it anything that anybody out there that's watching or listening would recognize and go, "Oh, I know that piece," or
A lot of kids know the show. It's called Mira Royal Detective, and it's usually just kids that know. But pretty much
yeah,
any kid that I know, any friends of mine that have kids, know this show. It's on Disney Channel, Disney Junior, Disney Plus, and
yeah,
my name's like the first one in the credits for music. I did,
nice,
produced, arranged, orchestrated, did the background vocals, violins.
yeah,
Did a lot of the production on it, and it was a really, really fun for me, because the show was, again, called Mira Royal Detective, and it's the only show that Disney's ever done, or only program Disney's ever done, that represented Indian culture, which is my background. So I was brought in as a kind of a young
yeah,
crossover guy that could do that modern sound, but also
right,
bring the authentic Indian flavor that I did learn from my parents, which I'm blessed that I did have that upbringing. And so I was able to bring an authentic,
yeah,
legit Indian sound to it while still producing it in a modern way. So yeah, that
yeah,
show's out there. It's on Wikipedia. My name's
yeah.
on there. Pretty
I,
exciting credit for me. My family's really proud of me.
I can guarantee you there are a lot of parents out there going, "Yeah, we heard that a lot, over and over and over again." Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that, when they started that project, that they thought of, Deepak, and picking someone with your culture, because I think that's important, to be authentic. I think, throughout history of arts and entertainment, is a lot of times that necessarily there's not always a great representation across the board. So I think it's fantastic. Now I want to go listen to the music on that, because I'm very curious what it sounds like. It sounds like it's going to be awesome, because it's probably something I haven't truly experienced yet, but now I want to experience that.
Totally. I mean, I think you enjoy. I think they even have the tracks on Spotify under the show, and it's, again, people have heard, probably heard of Bollywood before, right? You've heard of Bollywood?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Bollywood's that kind of like upbeat, super like celebratory Indian dancey stuff, right? So
Yeah.
that's what they want. So that's what we brought that element to it with the classic Disney style of songwriting, where it's like really catchy melodies. And I didn't write the songs. I co-produced, arranged, and orchestrated them. So they have their staff Disney writers that are just amazing. They're just such good writers that that's just what they do. They write the lyrics and the melodies, and then they basically brought the song to me, and then I took the sound and like made it sound huge. I brought that big sound to it, played a bunch of the instruments, brought in some authentic Indian musicians. I even hired some people from India and had them, did some remote studio sessions from from Mumbai, with some amazing local, like masterful Indian musicians that I like put got. So it was really an honor to work with some really top level Indian musicians because of this project.
That is awesome. That's amazing. I'm glad to hear that, because I don't think a lot of people like myself that might not know about what goes into music creation, we wouldn't even think of that. And we wouldn't even think about the teams that you bring in, or the people that you bring in. So that's really cool to hear that. And the people listening to this show now will know that if they listen to that music and appreciate it.
Totally, and it was like I said, it was an honor for me, and it really brought joy to my family, because I was, as a first generation Indian, we're basically expected to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, or computer scientist. Literally, everyone in my family has either done something like that, or Microsoft, or my dad was at NASA for like 50 years and all that. And so, to me, and I did actually go to school for pre-med and pre-law. I did finance, all that kind of stuff. But again, I was already super rebellious, and I decided to take a courageous path and not follow the grain of the family stereotypical path, and then decided to leave and go to LA. So the fact that I did that had my parents and other family members like concerned, like, how are you going to make a living? How are you going to make a career? So, within the first few years of getting to LA, I was blessed to get a lot of really amazing gigs. I performed with Rihanna, Jason Mraz, a lot of, gigs like that. Did some movies. I was like co-star in Modern Family. Things started falling into place. And so when I got the Disney gig, so they were already happy about those things along the way. But then when I got the Disney gig, that was like a big deal because it's Disney and it represented Indian culture. So it was like, I was like, oh, the stuff that they taught me culturally is now being expressed. It's not like I abandoned my Indian culture just to be American. Like I really got to bring in my roots and actually bring it into a mainstream space, which to me was very rewarding.
So when you were going down the musical path and, your family start realizing that maybe it's more than a hobby or more than what you like to do at school, what was the kind of maybe family challenge that you had where they're like, "Oh, no, don't do this. This is not what you want to do." And then, when you got to LA and you started getting these things like you said, can you explain what like that realization was for them to see, okay, well, this is something that Deepak can do because he's doing great at it.
Totally. And I'm really blessed to have the type of parents that weren't, because I've heard of other parents that are like strong nose and it's like really a big deal. My parents were concerned, they just but they were concerned more about just making sure that I had security and financial security and had a path that's going to get somewhere. Because but they were never really like big time, like no, don't do this. We don't want you to do it. They were just like, okay, okay. It was a little bit more of a,
Yeah. Yeah.
more from concern but not rejection. So luckily, I didn't have a negative vibe at all. To be honest, it was
Yeah.
so I was able to go out. But then when they started seeing the successes and the stuff, they got a sense of relief and then a sense of pride to start hearing other family members. That's the big thing about our culture, and probably a lot of cultures is like parents want to brag about their kids. Like our kids in Harvard, our kids in here, our kid's a doctor now, our kids working on their PhD or their masters. And so when other family members start telling my parents, "Hey, we just saw him on Modern Family," or "We just saw him a Super Bowl commercial doing the Cadillac, riding an elephant in the Cadillac for the Cadillac Escalade 2015 commercial," stuff like that. That gave them the feeling of that. Oh, okay, now we're proud. We can brag about our kid now, just like everybody else, but almost in a way more because it is more of a unique situation. It's not just the school path. They're like, whoa, this is actually, it's more entertaining and more fun for the family to all vicariously live through me at this point because I'm not doing the stereotypical thing.
That's actually really cool because everybody's like, yeah, I got a doctor, I got a lawyer. You got, yeah, I got a guy that worked for Disney, and I got a guy who was
Right.
on Modern Family. So, yeah,
Totally.
I mean,
Yeah.
your story is awesome already, just
Yeah.
from hearing the fact that you coming from a family culture of maybe like, how would you say it? Like, book success or school success, right? And here you are being creatively successful. So it kind of opens the door for other people to say, listen, you know what? If my child wants to do the same thing that Deepak did, maybe that's okay. Maybe I can not worry so much and let my child explore themselves and do. I think that's amazing. Um, I love hearing creative stories like that and coming from families like that and just the success that you have. Uh, and you mentioned that you're also on the way right now to Texas because you got
Yeah. I'm
something that's neat going on.
I'm in the middle of a road trip literally right now. Just pulled over to stop, talk to you awesome folks, and I'm near Tucson right now. I'm driving from Los Angeles over to Austin, Texas area for a movie premiere that I'm doing this Saturday called Plandemic the Musical, which is a controversial name. It's really exciting because it's just I like kind of being on the edge too. Like again, I mentioned my rebellious nature, and I like to just sort of be on the edge even in society of questioning things, and also just the freedom to be able to think outside the box, knowing that it's harmless to have free thoughts and have conversations. And I really want to bring back conscious conversation and disagreement in a healthy way because I feel like there's a lot of polarization in the world. I'm very passionate about love and unity and bringing humanity back together, definitely through my music, but also through another level of conscious communication and languaging and acceptance and really just stopping and just bridging that divide that we have all over the planet right now. So this movie is really like a special way, I feel like, to express that through art, making Plandemic the Musical, which is a 25-minute film. It's the fourth and end of a series of documentaries that were definitely controversial in terms of topic, questioning the narrative around the science and all that kind of stuff. And again, some people may agree, some people may disagree. I think it's great. But my role is not coming from as much of the science. I'm coming in bringing the music to a film that's not even about science. It's actually just a fun story, bringing love and levity and unity through music and art, and it's like a really special piece of art that I'm really proud of. That I got to do the score, all of it, write all the songs, be the musical director. It's like one of my biggest works now that combines all the genres into one. It's got some of my new songs, my new solo songs that I'm going to be releasing later this year. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. We're having a huge premiere in Austin this Saturday, the 15th. And you know, people can go check it out. People in the Texas area can come out. It's going to be a pretty epic party. JP Sears, he's a hilarious comedian that I'm really close with. He's in it. We've got Del Bigtree, who's a big activist on health and freedom. Dr. Judy Mikovits, Dr. Robert Malone, who got pretty famous on Joe Rogan, questioning the narrative. A lot of like people are in the movie and are going to be at this premiere, as well as myself, Jimmy Levy, an amazing singer, High Res, and yeah, a lot of awesome folks. It's going to be great.
That's amazing. That's really cool. And it's really cool to see creative people go out there and do things like this. And I mean, you might not think of, some people might look at, for example, like film festivals, right? Some people look at them and be like, okay, well, some are big, some are mediocre, but it doesn't matter. When you go to these events, you meet so many cool creative people that are in all parts of the industry. And I think that's something that I wish the public knew more about. So I hope that people in Texas come out and meet and greet with you guys and watch the creative thing that was put together in the pandemic and enjoy it for what it is,
Totally.
because we all need entertainment. We all need entertainment. And man, this is my
And
favorite
on,
part of these interviews with people like you, Deepak, is
yeah,
just this stuff.
yeah, and honestly, this piece of music and art and film, it really is something to bridge the divide. It's not really that controversial of a film in its content. The name, of course, probably will trigger some people just because it's pandemic and people associate it with conspiracy theories. But the film is not that in any way. It really is a beautiful piece of art to bring people together, make people feel good. It's a love story. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. The songs are super catchy and fun. And by the way, you just mentioned film festivals. It reminded me that this film already it's not even fully out yet, and it already won full on Best Picture at the Malibu Film Festival 2 weeks ago,
Oh,
in
wow.
California. So it's already won that, and it's on the newspapers. We were on the front cover of the Malibu Times, and also our third film, Plandemic 3: The Great Awakening, won the entire Santa Monica Film Festival for Best Documentary. So we're on a roll right now, and excited for this next movie to come out. It'll be online probably sometime in July. We'll do a massive worldwide release online, but in the meantime, we're doing the theater circuit right now, just doing premieres in different cities. We did a Vegas premiere, we did a Malibu Film Festival premiere in Los Angeles, and now we got the Austin premiere, and it was fully packed. We had to turn people away in Los Angeles. It was literally fully sold out. So, and we're expecting Austin's going to be almost 2,000 people at this event, and it'll probably be fully packed.
Nice.
First of all, congratulations to
Yeah.
you and the whole cast. And I'm sorry, Paul, to cut you off, but I just had to give that
Yeah.
congratulations because that's big. That is for a lot of people that don't know film festivals. Go out there, check them out, and then you'll understand like how big of a deal that is.
I was just gonna say, because I looked it up, and if you are interested in going and want a great Father's Day present, and it's a bargain for you because dads go free this weekend to the premiere. It's an early Father's Day present according to the website. So hey, it's good reading to check it
Absolutely.
out. Good reading to check it out. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Father's Day weekend, and also the director of the film, who's my best friend and brother, who made the entire series, Mickey Willis, who was like a well-known filmmaker from Los Angeles and is an amazing father. It's also his birthday this week too. He's a Gemini, just like myself. I just had my birthday about a week and a half ago, so we're celebrating our Gemini birthdays as well as Father's Day, and it's just going to be an all-around celebration of unity, connection, and everyone's just going to be there celebrating being alive, being together, being human. Together we will rise. That's like the new song
Nice.
that we're going to be putting out with the movie. And we're singing that song all over the place these days.
Nice.
So after this premiere, in Austin, Texas, what's next on your radar creatively?
Yeah, the next thing, actually, the following weekend is a festival called Music and Sky, which is up in Northern California in Mendocino County. So we're going to be performing there as well. It's an amazing festival with people speaking about again, truth, love, and freedom. A lot of good music. A lot of people sort of crossover between the Los Angeles, San Francisco Bay Area Burning Man scene meets a lot of the people that are into freedom and self governance and independence. So it's a nice crossover of that, and I'm definitely into all that. So that'll be happening the following weekend. Music and Sky. And then after that, getting back to Los Angeles and focusing on my debut solo records. I had several bands all these years, and it's been focused on having bands. And in 2020, obviously a lot of things changed for people in 2020. My band was doing really well. We were on the circuit, potentially being booked for Jimmy Kimmel, a couple stadium shows. We had South by Southwest booked. We just sold out the Troubadour. And 3 days later, the lockdowns happened. Our tours got canceled. And then during that time, the alignment of the band wasn't quite right. And I decided to go solo. So what I'm in a journey of right now is like rebuilding myself and my music after amazing momentum with the band and a record deal and everything, and really rebuilding. And so this is going to be the beginning of me going inward, like I talked about, identity, focusing on like what my message is and my mission is, which got really clear during the last couple of years of being able to really sit down and meditate, take some space during the lockdowns to really be with myself and listen to my spirit, listen to my soul. And so this will be my debut solo album. I'm going to be writing all summer. A couple songs are already written, actually like 9 songs are already written. 2 of them are going to be in the Plandemic musical film. And we're going to spend the rest of the summer in the studio, me and my musical partner, Johnny Twilight, and other producers and musicians I'm collaborating with, and just focus on writing and getting ready for the fall to start releasing songs and start touring again.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And that's awesome at the same time, both words together. Uh, Now you mentioned that you are very experienced with multiple musical instruments. You mentioned piano, you mentioned electric violin. So there's a lot of stuff there, probably more than what just people know about as far as musical instruments go. So when you have, so much talent like that, and you probably like to play on a lot of different musical instruments, do you actually have like your own home studio for that stuff, or do you rent out a space? Like, what's it like for someone like you with such a diverse talent?
Yeah, absolutely. I have an entire studio that I've been, and for years I was producing, in LA just to make different types of ways of generating revenue as a musician. One of them is being a producer. So I became a producer originally just to produce my own music. I was going to studios for a while and paying a bunch of money to go to these expensive studios. And then I realized, hey, I've got a background in, left brain and right brain balance. I feel like I could figure out this production thing. So I got myself the gear, and over time, I built a studio and then started producing other artists too. I was producing my stuff, but then I started producing other artists, which was great because I got to learn a lot. I got to grow a lot as a producer, but then also make some income as well. And that also got me back to producing my own stuff. So I've been going back and forth, producing other people's music, my music, other people's music, my music, and then doing some of these movies, TV, film scores, the Disney stuff, which has now propelled me into producing, to really launching this summer back into fully just producing and focusing on my own music. And in the studio, there's tons of instruments in there. We got violin, string instruments, guitars, bass, piano, drums, and I play all of them. And also sometimes we'll bring in other musicians if I want to kind of get a different flavor. I'll bring in other musicians to collaborate with. But a lot of the stuff I do completely myself. A lot of times on stage, it's a one-man band situation where I'm doing live looping. I got the piano on stage, guitar, the violin, some beats, and I'm looping and also having tracks and singing and doing harmonies and doing that kind of Mark Rebier meets Reggie Watts meets Ed Sheeran kind of live one-man band thing. But I do enjoy having more musicians on stage. I love the art of collaboration and vibing with people. So I think in the long run, it'll be still a solo project, but I'll probably have live musicians on there on stage with me because I just love that feeling of chemistry that happens with more people on stage together.
That's amazing. Paul, did you have any questions?
No, no, I'm pretty good though. Yeah, it's really interesting. I can't wait to hear some of your stuff though. I'm really interested in see what it sounds like and what you've done, including going back and seeing if I can dig up some of the Disney stuff. I'm not gonna probably watch the show, but I will dig up some of the music. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Totally. I think, the show's really geared
Right.
towards kids and everything
Right.
anyway. And, but on top of that, I'll send you guys some underground stuff. I'll send you guys a
Oh, there you
private
go. Thanks.
secrets.
Yeah.
I have a secret SoundCloud link of a bunch of unreleased music of different genres that's not out yet, that I'll probably release later. And then Spotify's out there right now. Most of the stuff on Spotify is a couple years old now, but it's
Right.
pretty fun. A lot of it's collabs with different DJs.
Right.
There's electronic music on there. There's stuff from my band Robot Nature. But the current sound's not on Spotify yet. So just a disclaimer that I do love the stuff that's on there, but the new sound's going to be completely different. But I think people will enjoy the stuff that's on Spotify too under my name.
Right.
But my Instagram right now is definitely the most current in terms of having clips of live shows of the new stuff. So, my Dpak World on Instagram, spelled
Right.
DPAK World, is definitely a good place to find a lot of the new sound and keep track of what's going on,
Sounds good.
That I mean, I'm mind blown at all the diversity in the music, the genres of the music, right? Because a lot of musicians I speak to, they might like different types of music, but then they get stuck in one genre for a while and they can't seem to move on and they're just stuck there. But hearing your story and the fact that I mean, you're all over. Like you're not stuck in one genre. Like you mix stuff together and it just shows the creative talent. And I keep saying that, but I think it's so important as somebody who loves creative arts to be able to see that and recognize that because people need to how do I say this? People need to be able to not be afraid to get out of one box. And I hope that people that listen to this interview feel that way.
Awesome. I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I hope that people can expand possibilities of even ways of thinking and opening their minds to what's possible in general. I think my biggest theme in life is possibility and coming from a place of infinite possibility and like pushing the boundaries of what can be done. And so, as a musician or even with studying health and wellness and science or even traveling the world or extreme sports, I was a skydiver for years, all kinds of different things that are just, to me, just exploring the adventure of what life can be. And I think if people can hear the story and be inspired or want to try something new, I hope I can be someone that can, inspire that a little bit.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So Dpak World on Instagram, and is it Dpak World pretty much on all social media?
Yep, it's Dpak World everywhere, and again, it's spelled DPAK. Most people spell it DEEPAK, but mine is all capital, just DPAK, just 4 letters, and it's actually dpakworld.com. That's the easiest thing to do. Just go there, and
Yep.
then that leads to everything. It's a central place. It has links to all the social media. It's got latest previews. It goes to Instagram, and again, Instagram is definitely the most current because I'm always posting stories and my next events on there because that's just the way you can do that stuff pretty quickly on social media.
Okay, so there's Deepak World, and then for the premiere this weekend, it's pandemicseries.com, and you can
Yes.
find out all the ticket information and get the discount for Father's Day, and find out the schedule for that because that looks like that's a all night event actually. Aside from the movie, you have other parts of that going on after the movie as well.
Yeah. We're gonna do the movie's only 25 minutes. So basically,
Right.
the event is actually the movie followed by a nice Q&A with all the cast, and then I'm gonna do the concert along with some of the other musicians. I'm gonna be directing the concert, performing in the concert. So that'll all be happening as part of the event, like a 2 hour block of like movie Q&A, and then like a half-hour show. And then afterwards, we'll have like an after party, and we'll all just celebrate. And it's a pretty nice big venue. And if people
Yeah.
come early, there's gonna be food trucks and stuff like that. And then we're also gonna be doing poster signings with some of the stars. And it'll be a nice time. And then also musicandsky.com the following weekend. I definitely want to keep plugging that because that's an
Yeah.
amazing people, especially in the Bay Area. People are in NorCal. That's the place to be, is up in Mendocino. It's not too far from there. And we're gonna be up there on the 20th and the 24th. That's just Music and Sky. If they do musicandsky.com/DPAK, they get a 10% discount if they use my code DPAK.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
And I will say for those going to Austin, if you've never been there, Austin food trucks are some of the best in the world. I'm just throwing that out there.
I agree. I agree.
Okay.
Well, Deepak, I want to thank you for your time and, have a safe trip down to Texas. I'm excited to when you guys put this online and be able to watch it. I'm so excited and inspired by listening to you talk about your history into music and now I just want to hear all your music because it just sounds cool because I don't meet a lot of musicians that are unique like you when it comes to just putting everything together. So I can't wait to listen to it.
Thank you, man. Yeah, no, it's a journey. I'm staying in the beginner's mind, doing my best, and just learning and growing every day. I'm always learning new things, and I'm excited to just keep learning and making new music and putting it out there and sharing it.
Absolutely.